There's not one element, not one facet of this space that I'm leaving unturned here. I feel like this is a generational opportunity for entrepreneurs and investors. And I quite frankly have not seen something as exciting in my entire investment career. My name is Matthew Roszak. I'm co-founder and chairman of Block. Block is an enterprise software company, and we build blockchain networks for leading companies worldwide. I've been in the venture capital business for 20 years and also co-founded 6 enterprise software companies. I originally came across Bitcoin in 2011 when I was chairman of a social gaming company in Southeast Asia. And when you're in social gaming, payment processing, cross-border payments becomes a core competency very quickly. So when you're moving money from Korea to Philippines to Indonesia to Malaysia, you start paying attention to costs and friction of PayPal and credit cards and what have you. And so when Bitcoin comes on the scene, I did what most people do the first moment they are exposed to Bitcoin. I discounted it. I thought this was silly internet money. You could mine it. It's like a golden goose. It took me about a year to really re-explore the technology. And so by 2012, I did what I tell most people to do today, is turn off your phone, lock your door, and study this technology for a day. It's the best advice I could give. Blockchains are networks. And networks that we see today, Alibaba, Airbnb, Uber, those are interesting networks, but they're centralized networks. Here, you're going to have networks that are decentralized, that are working more on as a cooperative. I think some of the challenges will be, what are the economics of those networks, what are the economics of certain blockchains versus today's discussion, which is all about the technology. I think tomorrow's discussion will be about how do you build network effects off of these new railroads. I think there's going to be a lot of disruption, a lot of revolution with respect to blockchain-based technologies. And what that's going to drive is not necessarily banks worrying about other banks being competitors. What banks worry about is the bank of one. You know, the next generation of a banking network that's resident on a phone, that's decentralized, that's distributed, and is based on a digital token, a digital asset that's not necessarily issued by a bank or a government or anybody else. So it creates all these different permutations and opportunities, not only for enterprises and governments, but also for society. And right now, you know, it's not that difficult to go into a coffee shop or buy a pair of jeans with the credit cards and all the kind of banking infrastructure that I have. But if you're a goat herder in Ghana, if you're a taxi driver in Indonesia, you have no access to the global financial system. And so having, you know, what you do have is you have a supercomputer in your pocket. And so with that, it opens up incredible financial sovereignty where you can connect to the global financial network by having some digital currency in your pocket. If you look at what internet did to media and communications, blockchain will do to banking, insurance, capital markets, and 100 other industries, whereby the movement of value is now going to be done on new railroads. There's railroads are being built on top of the internet. And what that's going to do is provide current network operators. So think of not necessarily how do banks innovate and kind of replumb themselves, but think about how those networks, those blockchain-based networks, are used for payment rails within Facebook, within Alibaba, within Amazon. And they will provide payment layers as enhancements to their networks. So these will be just service layers where, on one hand, they may not care about banking and payments and some of those fees, and be apt to give those away for free to harden their networks and create network effects within their pool of customers. So if you look historically at the internet was a very thin protocol, and a lot of the value was captured in the application layer. So think Google, Amazon, Facebook, and hundreds of billions of dollars were put on top of that railroad. In the blockchain railroad, if you have something like Bitcoin and you have a digital token, the protocol is actually, and the equity token within that protocol gets very valuable the more applications you put on it, the more throughput, the more velocity and volume you put in that protocol. So you have thinner application values and very thick and fat protocol values. And so you're seeing this in Bitcoin, which is a $15-20 billion baby protocol currency. You have this in Ethereum, which is about $1 billion. But as these things continue to gain adoption and traction, and value, these protocols can be worth hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars, depending on what applications they wind up securing. And so from an investment standpoint, back in the late 90s, if you're saying internet search is going to be a big deal, and we had Google and Ask Jeeves in front of us, and we picked Ask Jeeves, we could have been right on the space and wrong on the horse. In these new protocol networks where you have a digital token and an equity share in that cooperative, in that network that you're involved in, you get to participate in that value, which is, from a technology standpoint, it's pretty unprecedented. If you're a intermediary, if you're a middleman for, in the case of the insurance industry or the banking industry, there's a moment in time where you're gonna have to present in front of your board and say, the center of what we do, the center of how we make money is now free. That's the bad news. The good news is we've built these concentric circles of other service layers and other ways in which to remain relevant and build and leverage off of our network and our regulatory edge and our brand, and either be a network operator, a network participant, and really play through this evolution of blockchain technology as it disrupts the middle piece of what these intermediaries do.
So a Bitcoin wallet is a piece of software that you use to communicate with the Bitcoin network. And then you can tell the Bitcoin network when you want to send and receive transactions. Now, the best way to understand a Bitcoin wallet is by comparing it to email. Once you've set up an email address, you need some kind of software to allow you to send and receive emails to that new address. Now, this software may be an app on your phone, it may be an app on your laptop, or it could even be an app online that you log into. Now, with email, you enter the username and the password for your email address, and you enter that into the app, and that's how the internet knows that it is really you that wants to send and receive emails to that address. Now, of course, you tell everybody the email address, and you have to do that in order for anyone to be able to send you a message. But just because someone knows your email address, that doesn't allow them to send email from that address, does it? If they could, that would be bad, because then they could send emails pretending to be you and cause all kinds of problems. In order to be allowed to send email from a particular email address, you have to know the password. And if someone finds out your email password, then there's nothing stopping them from logging into your email app and then sending messages. And this is very similar to how Bitcoin wallets work. Every Bitcoin account has two elements to it. One of them is called your public address, which is kind of like your email address. And one of them is called your private key, which is like your password. So just like email, you can give anyone your Bitcoin public address, and then anyone, anywhere in the world, can send you some Bitcoin. They don't need to know anything else about you. All they need to know is the public address, and they can send money to you. Now, your Bitcoin private key, on the other hand, is the one thing that you must protect. It's called your private key for a reason, because you should never reveal this to anybody. Now, if someone gets your email password, that's pretty bad because they can start sending emails from your address, but that's not quite as bad as someone getting your Bitcoin private key, because they can actually then steal all of your Bitcoins by sending them somewhere else. And just like email, once a Bitcoin transaction has been sent, it's a one-way trip. The only way to get it back would be for that person to send it back to you voluntarily. So Bitcoin literally works like digital cash. Once you've handed it over, the Bitcoin belongs to that other person. And the same goes when you receive Bitcoin. If someone sends it to you, it's yours and no one can take it away from you. The only way they could do that is if they knew your private key, and of course, now you know never to give this or reveal it to anyone.